Hello and welcome to my channel. As I made a new board for oracles, which I'm using with my runes, I was asking for the opportunities to make some examples, and this is the second example I have in English. I have already 3 in German, and I would like to show you the board, explain the board, and use my runes to make a reading, a rune casting. So this one is about someone who has a travel coming up, and she's asking me about the challenges, or if she should go challenges, and what if she has to stay or should stay, and what the challenges will be. So let me just switch cameras to show you the board, to explain the board, and then I will make the casting. So this is the board as I made it. It's the picture of the 9 worlds of Yggdrasil. There is, you find on the internet, a very simple way, which you can also use logically, with the different positions of the realms of the worlds. So I just changed it into a tree to make it, well, a little bit nicer, to have some fun with burning into words, which I like to do. So I'm going to explain the different realms as they are linked to our life and to our being, to better explain how the runes can be read later on, depending on where they are lying on the board. So let me start with Asgard, which is the realm of the gods, and which is the realm of our spirituality, of our godly insight, or our information from the universe, depending on how you see your belief. So I don't want to press a certain belief upon a person. Then you have Vanaheim. It's also a godly realm, but it is closer to Midgard. It is closer to our everyday life. So the gods that you find there work on a more physical way, on a more material way than the ones you find in Asgard, which is more a mental way. That is why you have also Losserheim between Asgard and Midgard. That is the realm of our mental part, our ideas, our thoughts. Whatever comes concerning doubts, or also things that we don't really see in our lives, you find it in Niflheim, whatever is moving around that part, and whatever rune ends up there. In the middle you find logically Midgard, which is our everyday life, our physical life, but also our physical body. In the roots, so you see those are more linked to the roots, you find first of all one of the realms of the giants, which is Jotunheim, which has a lot to do with core energies, with basic energies that may not always be controlled in our lives, and also where the warning lies in that maybe you believe that you are controlling them, but you may not. The destructive energies, you find them in Muspelheim, which is a fire realm. And when I say destruction, it always sounds very harsh, but it's also sometimes an absolute needed destruction to make place and material for a new construction, a new creation of something new. And this idea of creation, you find it in Svartalfheim, which is really the physical creation, or the changing the plants and making the plants into something real. So Lossalfheim may be the idea itself, but Svartalfheim is where the ideas start to become reality. And it's also in the lower part, so it's in the underground, in our subconscious. So if you have a plan and you want to make it real, maybe you should create more and bring in more energy into the creation than to talk about it in the outside and in the upper realms. And last but definitely not least, you have Helheim, which has to do with the departed, with our past, with our healing from the past, because Hel has also a lot to do with healing and our shadow work, our mourning of things and of people that we cared for who are departed. I also brought in several of the other aspects that are around Yggdrasil. There are other animals, so those are the first ones that I brought in. Maybe with the time as I go along I will bring other aspects too. So you have first of all the eagle, which is our own upper self, where the ideas of the universe and of the gods bring the message into our life. So if a rune ends up there, it will be definitely simply a message in itself that you can integrate logically into your life, into the question and the answer of the question, but it will not be immediately linked to one of the realms, but it's the message in itself. You find also whatever is nagging thoughts, envies, for example, that eat up the roots of Yggdrasil. So you have it here in Nidhogg, who eats the roots of Yggdrasil and keeps it from growing, and those are the parts in ourselves that keep us from growing. So you find this one too. You have Ratatosk, who is the messenger between the two, to find a balance between the energies and the messages that we get. And last but not least, again, I made Mimir Well. So those are the messages that come really deep down from the core of the earth, from the core of our history, the real old knowledge as the one that Odin tapped into to become who he is right now and who he, well, what he became actually, because history is also already old concerning the Germanic and the Northern mythology. So now it depends on how the runes land on it, and I'm going to use, I have different runes, but I'm going to use hazelnuts, and I burned into the upper part of it, I burned the runes in the clearer part, and depending on where and how they are lying, they are going to bring us a message how to handle the situation, how to handle the question and its solution. So even if the rune, for example, if the hazelnut stays on the board, I'm only going to read the ones that are on the board, and it lies upside down facing the board and we're not seeing the rune, it means actually that there is an energy that is there that we have not yet perceived and not yet used for the situation and for our question. So it will also have a certain importance. It's not something that is not needed, but it's simply hidden for the moment being. So I'm going to concentrate on the question, and I'm going to cast the runes and then make the reading. The moment I make the reading, I will go over not talking about a person who brought up the question, but I will talk to you immediately in person. So I'm going to say you and not he or she. So we see we have one of the runes. We had some who were fallen off. We have one that is not at all immediately in touch with the tree, with the worlds. And yet we could say that this one branch is like grasping it, so it is important. It is there, it is important in its way, We might be seeing it, or you might be seeing this information already, but you haven't taken it inside of the subject in itself. So let me start first of all on what is going on here. The one that lies close to Midgard is Isa. So along with this rune, I would say you're not going to make that trip, you're not going to make that voyage. We are going to see what's going on around, but like this, only with this rune. So actually, and I think that is something that is very important, the moment people ask a question like this is that there is a doubt. So I think that maybe this is the doubt. You are wondering whether you are going to make this voyage, even if it is not for now. You know it's only in the future, but you start wondering if it is going to happen or not. So Isa says, Isa is ice, so everything is frozen. But the moment that the ice melts, you have the flow of an energy into a certain direction. So this being frozen is important. And it gives you the information that you are aware that it is not now that the voyage is going to happen. So don't keep it in the now. Tell yourself again and keep it in mind that the voyage is not happening now, but it will be in the future. And count that in, that even if now the signs that you find around yourself are telling you you are not going to make the voyage, things may change. The ice of Isa might melt until then, and it still needs that time so it can happen. The next one lies close to Ratatosk, and it is Hagalas. So we are again on ice here, because hail is made out of ice. Those are pieces of ice. But it's also a very destructive force. It has a lot to do with how should I put this? I would love to say grow softer. Don't be too hard on the situation. Don't be too destructive on the situation. Don't be too hard on yourself. Let it flow. And I know how that sounds right now. That's not what I meant, but honestly, give it time. Give all this ice from Isa, from Hagalas, give it time to melt, to become water, to nourish the flow, so that the voyage will all happen by itself. Elsewhere it will simply be destructive, and it's not going to happen. And again, here between the ideas, between your mindset and the world, you have a hazelnut, and that is, as I explained before, it is lying upside down. It faces the board. So it's an energy that you haven't considered yet. So I'm curious too. Sovelu, the sun. So actually, what can make the ice melt? It's the sun. And maybe bring in some good thoughts into this. Bring in some fun into it. The chances that you are going to make that trip lie here. So if you bring in a mindset that is frozen, it is not going to happen. If you bring in a warm mindset and a welcoming mindset to this trip, it is going to happen. And now I start wondering, do you want to make that trip? Is it a voyage you want to make? Is there something inside of yourself that is telling you that actually you don't want to go? That's a question that you should ask yourself. Why is it so cold around there? And the sun, the warm part, is hidden. And when I'm saying you should ask that question for yourself, it's really that. It is important. It should be something you do because you want to do it, and not because someone is telling you, oh, this will be fun, and actually you don't care. It is important that you consider your part in this, and your energy is in this, and what it does to you. Will it freeze you or will it nourish you? That is your part. We have a rune that lies somewhere between Svartalfheim and, you know, the root that is being bitten by Nidhögg. And it's Manas. And actually it lies like this, so it is upside down. Manas is the rune of man, of you as a human being. And it lies in the creation. A little bit as if you are recreating yourself. But it was upside down. So my question stays. So the question I have just asked, I go for it again. Is this about you, this voyage? And if it really is about you, because I don't know. You just told me that there is a voyage. If it really is about you, then let it become about you. Not about someone else. Not to please someone else. But that you take in all the pleasure. And if you do that, we have one here, that last rune. It's, wait a second, where is it? There. It's Feu. That's the rune of fruitfulness. It can only become, it can only, now for the moment being, it's out of your reach, okay? You're grasping for it. The world is grasping for it, for you. But only, imagine, here is the root that is being bitten off, that keeps you from growing. That keeps you from growing this branch, this part of you, so you can grasp the fruitfulness and the good ending of this voyage. If you're really wanting to make the voyage, or deciding that you don't want to do it, and always coming out of it in a way that you gain something. Either of the decision, if you want to do it and you stand for it, or you don't want to do it and you stay here and you stand for it. You will be able to take something out of it, to gain from it, only if you become aware that you are an important part in this, and that you don't do it for other ones. I hope this gives you a certain idea of what the challenge is. The challenge is not about whether you go or whether you stay. It is as if there is a priority, an upper challenge in it, and if you start working on that challenge, that you are important for yourself, that you shouldn't give yourself up for other ones, just to please other ones, and then you will find out that actually the question going or leaving isn't the question that is important anymore for you. I hope that makes it understandable what this is about. I thank you that you gave me the opportunity to make this reading, and I thank you for watching.